Monday's explosion at Nigeria's Trans-Sahara oil pipeline in the Niger Delta was yet another reminder of how much Africa's largest oil producer needs to do to secure its oil infrastructure assets and what the wider ramifications are for the country's foreign currency revenue as well as the domestic petrol market. Joining me for a conversation to this and more is Dan. Kunle is an expert in the energy sector and a public policy analyst. We thank you for making the time on the show again tonight. Thank you so much. It's good to have you here.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
We really appreciate it. Quite a very disappointing very distressing news. The first oil pipeline explosion in Nigeria since 2025 started. What's your industry view on this infrastructure development story?
It is very unfortunate, but we saw it coming. If you read my article, the way I dimensioned the political economy of oil production and supplies in Nigeria, crude oil production and supply, about 9 days ago, and you can see exactly what is happening now. I said that the community and the social license you need to guarantee and maintain the kind of harmony that you require to produce oil and gas, I said I am afraid that this situation is still very fragile. And I'm particularly worried now that the political angle to this, you can see it clearly. The escalation in Rivers State, these are the immediate consequences you are seeing now, and we don't know how long this will continue.
There is no one has claimed responsibility for this as we speak. So, but we just said it's a blast, as it were. But again, the government has spent so much time trying to push back oil thieves in the Niger Delta over the last 1 or 2 years or thereabout. And we've seen Nigeria's oil production ramping up to OPEC plus quota levels. So, but does that mean that we need to keep our eye on the ball? But like you said, based on your article, that we need to do more. Within that community, we need to do a whole lot more.
You can see this situation now is not about who is at fault or who is responsible or who is not responsible.
But it's about the damage being done.
Yeah, exactly. And if you see the critical importance of this Trans-Niger pipeline, it flows all the crude production in that corridor.
Roughly 300,000
It's a central
barrels,
corridor into the Bonny export terminal.
Yes.
So, and it's a major corridor for oil export in this country. So we are putting at risk close to 600,000 barrels per day right away. That may be shorting. Because unfortunately for us, I'm not sure if we have dummy pipeline that you can trigger when there is crisis like this. To say,
the main pipeline.
Don't short in, route this, flow this crude via this. I doubt if we have such infrastructure.
So we're likely having a short-in right now.
If we have a short-in, you can see the ramification already. Negative ramifications. You are going to have, even the budget of 2025 is already at a threat. Then all the local refineries that we're still struggling to see how much crude they can get on daily basis from NNPC, that one now is out of the equation. So the situation is that this is very bad, and I expect Mr. President to have been conscious enough as a political juggernaut that this situation was going to come.
Mr. President is holding.
He needs to intervene right away.
Mr. President is holding what you call a state of the nation or state of the political situation in Rivers State, a nationwide broadcast.
It's very timely. It's very timely. But in fact, I would say it's even late. The political harmony that you need. I don't want to talk much about the political crisis in Rivers because I'm interested in the economy and not the politics because
he's supposed to. But one bad apple could spoil the whole basket in a manner of speaking. Because Rivers is a major. Port Harcourt used to be called the oil city, the garden city.
The president will have intervened and arrested this situation before today. I tell you, because in Nigeria, the president, after God, president. I have said this many times because I know what it means. I've walked around the corridor of power. President of Nigeria is so powerful. The Constitution allowed the President of Nigeria to say all the Federal Executive Council decisions, I hereby override it. That's how powerful the President of Nigeria is. Nigerian President is very powerful. So if the president decides to intervene in Rivers State crisis, political crisis, the matter will be over. And for the harmony that is required for us to produce oil and gas in this country, the president needed to have intervened already. Because now, Bonny LNG is not getting gas. There's a problem. So you cannot even expect sufficient, you can't export sufficient LNG, liquefied natural gas, to the fullest capacity of 22 million barrels. Yeah. And now again, you cannot now export crude oil. Okay, even the local refineries that you have, they claim they have revamped. Where will they get crude now?
So we've got quite some major issues to deal with at home. But when you look globally, there are also developments coming up. The crisis in the Middle East. Donald Trump firing left, right, and center as far as trade war and tariffs concerned and all that. How much of these do you think should be taken as a matter of urgency for agencies within the oil and gas industry? Because whether we like it or not, things are going to happen upon us.
Very good. Bossy, a nation does not operate in isolation. It's a co-evolution. The world is a global marketplace. If you don't, as a nation, you must treat your country as a business. You scan your environment. There are externalities that will always put pressure on your country, depending on how strong you are at home.
That's how nations behave in history.
So in history. So you must watch the dimension with which we said in previous conversation that the coming of Trump, that we need to watch out, because the guy will take hard decisions because he's a tough guy. Okay, so those decisions are going to have repercussions.
In the interest of the United States.
And it will exactly, because it's America first.
So we need to make decisions in Nigeria's interest.
Exactly. So those decisions now are going to they will vibrate negatively and positively across the world. So Nigeria must prepare herself. How strong are we at home to withstand some of those consequences? If oil dropped to 65, I believe oil will be between 63 and 70.
Those are shale executives, shale oil executives.
Even the tight oil.
That if oil goes to 50, that's not going to be.
They will not allow the tight oil to go below 60. They will not, because the investors in America who risk their money, they will scream. So, having said that, what is our situation? Let's situate Nigeria. The situation, the external pressure on Nigeria is that petrol will not be cheap in Nigeria.
No, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, I'm not a messenger of bad news, but I'm a messenger of realistic conversations, scientific conversation. I'm not a populist, but I believe in welfareism. I believe in strong regulatory framework.
So you think, because I'm coming from about the urgent reforms that you think we need to carry out within, in particular, the downstream sector, and we're beginning to move now from upstream to midstream and downstream, the urgency of reforms that we need and investments in that sector, because now we're beginning to touch on when you say petrol prices are likely to go up if we have major issues with the upstream sector, both internally and of course, if you have global vulnerabilities as well. So if we drill down into the downstream sector a little bit, where do you want to see some of the reforms and structural changes that needs to be done beyond the refining business? Because it looks like with the coming of Dangote refinery, everyone suddenly opens up to refining business, whereas there's a whole lot of value chain within the downstream sector that still need investment.
Yes, Bossy, I think about 3 weeks ago, or 21 days ago, I think I was on this desk with you and I came from Abuja. The downstream petroleum sector is in crisis, big crisis, and I say it without missing word. It may result into a lot of problems unless the president decides to intervene and arrest that situation. The regulatory framework in the midstream, downstream, weak, very weak. I said it before. Now, if all the refineries owned by government and Dangote, if they are producing today, where are they getting crude? I said it 4, 5, 6 years ago that this country will import crude and we will import gas. Exactly is happening now. We are going to import gas, particularly LPG, and very soon we may even import LNG we may end up building, unless the president is able to intervene. So we are importing crude oil now. Dangote has to import huge crude oil to feed his refinery, because now you can see the vagaries already. Internally already we have problem internally. And I'm sorry for the new investors who are planning to build new refineries. So what is the future? And I'm also sorry for the new investors, Renaissance and Seplat, who just acquire oil block
the shell
asset.
shell asset.
So now they're supposed to increase crude oil production, so that all the local refinery will have at least access, advantage. But today, I'm sure some of them are in strategic meetings now to say, what are we going to do with this situation? So I believe that the reform, the huge investment is at stake. Billions of dollars are at stake. As an insider, billions of dollars are at stake. So I think the downstream sector reform that is required now is that the president should step in. He cannot be aloof and be looking at the boys. No. The president is too informed. Is too informed and too strategically well-positioned to resolve this problem.
What we're getting in from the newsroom right now is that Mr. President has declared a state of emergency in Rivers State.
If the president have declared state of emergency in Rivers State to remove, to sort out the political situation there, does that help us to solve the problem with the oil infrastructure? That is the problem. Look, political economy.
Yeah, yes.
Does that solve the problem? You remember what President Yar'Adua did to get amnesty organized? Exactly. We came down to 800,000 barrels per day. The country was almost on her knees. So I hope this situation. That I feel very bad now for the guys who just acquire upstream asset, and I feel very bad for huge investment, a mega investment like Dangote refinery, because this thing is going to. He will now have to import almost all her requirements, and that may affect the price at which PMS will come out of that refinery.
I'm going back to my question, and I'm not sure you've answered that. Is the fact that changes here is inevitable, with Dangote coming in with the petrochemical, $20 billion or so. But of course, there are still others within the industry, the tanker, the depot operators and others. Aren't there opportunities here for some change to happen within that sector without everyone just focusing on refining business alone?
Yeah, Bosi, the downstream sector and all the assets there, existing assets, depot, petrol stations, and trucking, and piping, all those infrastructures, you know, most of them are old. They have aged. Now, with the new refinery that Dangote has put in place, the trucking system that is coming from Dangote may even further affect some of those old Rekitia assets, because they may not be able to be deployed to move these products. So it may be the new trucks that Dangote may deploy that will deliver petrol to the petrol stations in your villages and in all.
Is Dangote planning to have? Is Dangote planning to have trucks, new trucks?
No, because it cannot. The capacity in Dangote today refinery, you cannot leave that refinery for all these Rekitia trucks. They will move on the road inefficiently. They don't have the capacity. They are aged. They have aged. Most of those trucks have aged.
So you think Aliko is thinking about bringing in modern trucks that are safer for the road, for delivery?
Because the product pipelines are dead. And the cost of reviving them and the time is not a question of 1 year.
So we'll have to do haulage.
Exactly. So haulage is going to increase, whether we like it or not. And you need what we call durable vehicles on the road. If you want to catch the efficient quantum that you need in the marketplace to stabilize price.
Okay.
So the downstream is in a disarray at the moment. I just hope the operators there will be able to form a consortium and collaborate with.
What would that consortium? Ipman,
all of them who owns all these tank farms and petrol stations. They should find a way to come together. Exactly. They should go for consolidation. It's time. The circle of their business have plateaued and is going down. So they need to plan now how to regrow that graph.
So they said they need to see change happening.
Exactly. That's change. That's change. I'm theoretically analyzing the change they need. They need to infuse new thinking, new vision, and work with the new guy who has come to the marketplace to stay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Let's leave it there for tonight. I'm sure we can have this conversation in the future.
No, I appreciate you both for always contacting me, because
we really appreciate
in a very short notice.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you so much. We thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We appreciate for that industry sector insight and perspectives. Dan Kunle, energy sector expert and public policy analyst.